Hello, welcome to another edition of Fourth Down Magazine's Fourth and Goal, the video podcast in which we name our stuff after our own site, where we break down everything going on in the Mid-Penn Conference. See Andy laughing over about
It's a
that.
good one.
We also bring you some of the game's biggest names, and we start by having laughs as well this week. There we go. I'm Jake Adams, here as always with Andy Shea. Andy, hello. Penn State just whooped Iowa. The Ferentz 25 point per game zaniness, whatever the heck that is in the contract, is still very much in play. It's that time of year again, though. We're in Penn State territory. Is Penn State for real?
Oh, they are definitely for real. They check. There's very few boxes that they have left unchecked. And I'm not talking about the quarterback when I start saying that. I start on the defensive side of the ball. And yeah, they're legit. That is it. They are a Big Ten title contender and a college football playoff contender 100%.
You know who's not legit and not a college football playoff contender? Temple. They got smoked by Miami.
Told you.
My positive
Told you.
vibes did not help any. But we're not here to talk about college football. There's plenty of podcasts and video YouTube channels to go to. We're here to talk about Mid-Penn. We've got a bunch of good topics this week. We got another great guest on this week, another one from the Mid-Penn Keystone. We're 2 weeks in a row there. I want to start though with an odd one. We had kind of looking back at last week. Shay, we had Chambersburg beat Carlisle 3-0, which if you're playing football bingo, I don't even know if that score shows up on your bingo card.
Yeah, I kept thinking the score was wrong. Even Saturday, I was like, is this score wrong? I have seen two high school football games in my time that ended up 3-0. I didn't see this one, although I did watch the highlights, and I was like, there was a little bit of carnival chaos that went into the 3-0 final. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bad football. This was bad football, both sides, right? And
Yeah.
3-0 scores happen for a reason. The first one I saw was Cumberland Valley Chambersburg from back in the mid 1990s. And you remember you asked me about the big backs? That game involved one of them. It was Anthony Cleary from Chambersburg. It was two really good defenses against two very powerful that could just offenses that sort of like overpowered the opposition, but they were just blandly vanilla. Mm-hmm. And when they clashed, neither one could do anything against the other. So that one was understandable. The second one I saw, this one was funny. It was, remember the Scotland School for Veterans Children before it closed? Scotland had a football team. They won the state championship one year. I think it was 1994. You can check me on that. They played Boiling Springs, and a fog rolled in. And they kept playing. Like, I started the game in the press box, and then this fog started moving in, so I went down to the sidelines. And I'm not joking. By the middle of the second quarter, I literally could not see what was going on in front of me. And I'm on the sidelines. So 3-0 is partly about anemic offenses. It's about defense. It could be about weather. But
yeah,
this one was weird because neither team has been very good defensively this year, particularly Carlisle. They've been pretty bad defensively. So I don't know what to say about it. It was a carnival cruise ride.
And I was going to say too, like Carlisle's offense, well, both of these teams' offenses haven't exactly been bad. I mean, compared to some of the other teams in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth, they're not going to stack up. We already knew that, but this is kind of one of those games. This could be a fun, like mid-power game here. Like, who knows what's going to happen? It felt like a little bit of a 50-50 draw there. Carlisle's got a receiver that's leading the Mid-Penn in receiving yards this year, and like it's a 3-0 game that just kind of like, I'm surprised by that one. It's interesting. It's one of those like weird, it's high school football kind of things to see.
Yes.
So on the flip side, on the Commonwealth, we had State College just run roughshod on Central Dauphin, which if we would have brought this up a month and a half ago, we would have said, yeah, that score isn't surprising. Like State College was the overwhelming favorite. Central Dauphin played itself into the conversation here to say, hey, can they pull this upset off? It was still going to be an upset if they won, but man, that's a big win for State College, or at least a statement in the Commonwealth division at a bare minimum for them to take down like this upstart Central Dauphin team.
So I'm going to throw a Bull Durham reference at you. Great baseball movie, right? I want to announce my presence with authority, right? Newton LaLoosh wants to throw a fastball. Crash Davis is like, all right, throw your fastball, right? This was State College announcing its presence with authority. I watched a good chunk of the game Friday night, and I would argue that the Rams, they didn't really play what you would call a bad game at all,
Mhm.
really. I mean, they made some mistakes, they had some turnover. They really didn't play a bad game. And they kind of, as the first half wore on, they literally had no say in the outcome. I like to use these weird phrases, but State College played what I call squish the grape football. They literally just slowly and efficiently sucked the football life out of Central Dauphin without a lot of glitz and fanfare and flash. They slow rolled it to a degree. The line of scrimmage was a battle that CD had to win. They had to win, and they had to win it decisively.
Mhm.
Even the fact that State College made it a draw was a win for State College, right? The line of scrimmage was a draw. The Little Lions, they just simply have more weapons on the outside offensively, and they use them well. CD is not known for having a outside offense that has any sort of potency to it. They're not going to beat you down the field. State College beat CD down the field and stayed level at the line of scrimmage and played wicked, nasty physical defense. Squish the grape, dude. They sucked the life right out of CD in that game. And remember, I said it. CD did not play all that bad.
Yeah, and that's all the more credit to State College that they won in that fashion. You dominated a team that didn't
Yep.
like make look bad. They still played a good game in a loss, but yeah, it's a man, that's a wake up call for the rest of the Commonwealth if you're seeing that score and that performance and that box score.
Yep.
Um, one more thing from last week that we saw before we get to our guest. Stone Saunders broke the Bishop McDevitt career passing record last week in the same game in which they broke their own program record for consecutive victories with 18.
Right.
Obviously, we know this team, and so many of those weapons are really, really good. They've got a bunch of D1 talent. Saunders is verbally committed to Kentucky. On like right down the road, we've got Alex Irby from Steel High, who is closing in on the all-time state passing record. He's probably going to get there sometime at the end of the season, give or take week 10, maybe early playoffs, depending on how many
Yep.
blowouts they've got. It sets up an interesting question. That's why I kind of wrote it down in our show notes today is Irby's going to, barring injury, break the school or the state record. Saunders is not going to be far behind. He's got a year to go. Again, barring injury or anything else crazy happening. Who do you think ends up with the most yards? I don't want to say who's going to be the best because that's a wildly
Right.
different
Right. Right.
question with classifications, but who ends up being at the top on this specific record when all is said and done?
It is a tough one, right? It depends. Steel High, they look like they're positioned for a deep run. So does McDevitt. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got the equality there. I'm going to say Saunders. So both of them have enjoyed great success on their own, but they've also had an abundance of weapons around them, right?
Absolutely.
Saunders is the better pure passer. And he also has more elite receivers around him. So that's why I'm going to say Saunders.
Mm-hmm.
He The only thing that's sticky for me is he didn't do much. He didn't do it last. He doesn't play much in the second half.
Yeah.
Doesn't. He didn't do it last year. He's not going to do it the second half of this season, right? Like he was done basically at halftime against Cedar Cliff last week. Previously
Yeah.
unbeaten Cedar Cliff. The game was over. Middle of the second quarter, that game's over, right? Like I'm done. I don't have to see any more of that. This game's over. Unfortunately, I knew it was going to look like that. And so that might be a factor, but in the way I look at it, and if I project it out, I'm saying, okay, Irby's going to set the record this year. Absolutely, 100%. And he deserves it. He might only hold it for half a season.
Yeah. I mean, it's one heck of a time if you would have said at any point in my career at Carlisle that the mid pen would have one really, really good state level passer. I would have been like, all right, not bad. To have two that are probably going to go 1-2 in the state record books is
Yep,
amazing because the mid pen for a long time wasn't really known for this kind of stuff. And it's amazing how much high school football's changed.
it has
Um,
changed a lot.
So with that, we're going to pivot over. We got our guest coming up. We'll then wrap things up like always with just a little look ahead to week 6 action. So we'll be right back. We're joined today by a senior at the heart of the Lower Dolphin turnaround this season. They're 4-1. He's running back linebacker Dakota Sari. He's averaging 104 yards a game, 7.8 yards a carry, 4 rushing touchdowns for a team that's really impressed so far in the first half of the season. He's obviously been one of their best players so far on both sides of the ball. Dakota, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. How have you been?
I've been doing pretty well.
Awesome. So Dakota, I got a question for you here. You've been without one of your stars, Ty Milheims, for the start of this season, but it's been so far so good. Like we said, 4-1. That's not too bad. There were a lot of questions kind of going in, like how would you guys look without his presence in the lineup? But how would you grade the team's performance so far in his absence?
Right now, we're doing pretty good without him. As a team, we were giving each other like chemistry and we're talking about some things. And yeah, without Ty Milheims, I mean, he is a big star for our team and he's pretty the guy that we go to. But right now, we've been doing pretty well without him.
Hey Dakota, last year you guys won 4 games. You've already equaled that total in 2023. And we're going to get to the schedule. I want to ask you about the schedule and what's coming up. But football wise, what is different in your opinion that is having an impact for this team? What is different about the Falcons in 2023 that you notice that wasn't there in 2022? And Jake already said you lost one of your best players. That's already a given. So what is different about this team?
So about this team, we put in effort, hard work, and we had grit and brotherhood like we never had during 2022. And also that the more we put in day by day, it makes us a better team overall until like the end of the season.
Clearly you guys have an identity offensively. You run the ball, right? Like you're okay. We're a little bit one dimensional. We're okay with that. If Lower Dolphins throwing it 30 times a game, it's not going well. Something's not going well for you guys. But being a sort of one dimensional team, and I don't mean that in a bad way, like they can't literally throw the ball. You can, you throw it when you have to. But what is the biggest challenge for you guys being a strong single-minded offense? Because it does come with challenges.
Well, we have to improve on ourselves. We look on our film. Us as a team, we got to see what we got to improve on and make up for those mistakes that we have and just be perfect as a team.
You guys are on pace to make the playoffs for the first time since 2015. That team went 9-3. What were you doing in the fall of 2015 when that was going on?
I think I was in like middle school playing, no, I think elementary. I was just playing kickball like usual. So,
How good of a kickball player were you? What
I mean,
give us a breakdown.
I was just a fast kid. I couldn't kick far, but I was just a fast kid.
Gotcha. I like that.
Hey, for those Dakota, for those who haven't been paying attention, let please allow me to assist you. The Falcons have been playing some pretty good defense. They've surrendered 45 points through 20 quarters of football. That's 5 games for those of us who are doing the math. Why is your defense cooking? What is going on defensively that you know is something that is a strength of this team? What do you guys got cooking defensively that's going so well?
Well, I mean, it's just like physicality. We're just like a physical team. We would like to play hard and then just play ball. That's what we usually do, and that's how we're winning games.
I'm going to put you on the hot seat here for a minute. This division right now in the Keystone has Hershey's Angel Cabrera, who just had a big game in the Cocoa Bean Bowl, and he was a guest on our show last week. It's got Cedar Cliff's Eric Shriver. It's got Milton Hershey's Elijah Johnson. Obviously, McDevitt's got some talent, even though they don't have some big numbers right now. I'm going to ask you, as one of those running backs, one of those big running backs right now, who's the best back in the division?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I don't think there should be a best. We're
Such a
all
diplomatic. I was teeing you up there for you to say yourself, and you go diplomatic.
no, it's I don't compare myself to other people because it's me versus me at the end of the day. Every single day it's me versus me. I don't worry about any other running back there is out there.
Hey,
Gotcha.
let me ask you a question on this front then. You guys
You guys have a home game against Palmyra at the Concrete Palace this week. That's what I call Hershey Park Stadium. Good luck, by the way. So let's talk about the schedule elephant, right? The final month, you guys, after you play Palmyra, the final month you play Cedar Cliff, Hershey, Milton Hershey, and McDevitt. There you're going to see some matchups, Jake. Running backs against running backs, running team against running. You guys lost to each of those squads a year ago. A couple of them were close ones, right? Like a couple of those losses were close. What gives you juice to believe that 2023 is different? What tells you that this is different when you guys embark on the last month of this season as you chase that first playoff berth in almost a decade?
Well, I never seen a team like this in 2023. I mean, we have major weapons, not like last year, and there was some stuff last year that that was going on, but this year we're a family and we like to be competitive with any other team out there.
Let me ask you a follow-up to that. You know, in all the years I've been covering high school football and sports in general, everyone wants to talk about X's and O's and ball. But I think the one thing I've learned is even if it's a 70-30 proposition, you're the 30%, you're the underdog. We have a 30% chance of winning. They're a really good team. You can make up for that. The talent becomes irrelevant. It's the team chemistry that matters. And you mentioned that, like that sort of like you're pulling on the same rope, but you can't really see it. But those that are doing on the field know it. Explain that to me a little bit, what that feels like on a week-to-week basis, because you can't really see it, but you know what it looks like when you do see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What does that look like on a week-to-week basis? Are you practicing better? Are you more in tune with each other? Do you understand your roles better? And it's not just because you have experienced players. I wonder what your perspective is on that, Dakota.
So during practice, we watch film. So we have drones where we film ourselves during practice to see our mistakes and to see what we can do from our mistakes. And when we make those mistakes, we got to fix them up before the game, and we want to be as good as we can before the game starts. And that's how I put it perspective. That's how we're going to get better and better each week that we play our rivals.
Right.
And then
does it feel differently to you? There's a feeling to it, right? Like it just feels different, say, heading into week 6 this year than last year, right? Does it feel different to you?
Yes, it feels really, really different than it was last year.
And that's always not about winning and losing, is it?
Right.
Winning is nice, right? But there's more to it than that. And do you think that is the single thing that prepares you guys for the last month of the season better than anything else?
Yes. Winning gives us confidence. It gives us everything so far. I mean, we've been underdogs throughout 2-3 years. So we're just going to be coming out on top this year. All the stuff we put in throughout the whole summer.
Dakota, Andy will have a couple more questions along these lines, but I want to find out a little bit more about you off the field here. What's a unique skill or hobby you have that a lot of people don't necessarily know about?
Well, I really don't have a hobby. I just go to school and then I come home, do my schoolwork, and then I go back to practice. I just go back to the school and then we practice, and then I come home and then do more schoolwork and then probably watch film on myself.
Gotcha.
Hey, Jake, you asked it. Football player.
I did.
We don't have hobbies.
His hobby is football.
Yeah.
All right, Dakota, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Maybe we can get a little bit more out of you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, beach house or lake house? Which one?
Beach house.
Give me one person. They can be dead or alive. It's your choice. One person and one person only that you would choose to have lunch with. Who is it?
Ooh. I would say my father.
Nice. Give me any other team in the Mid-Penn Conference whose uniforms combinations catch your eye and that you like.
Cedar Cliff.
Cedar Cliff. Interesting. Do you like them in the white or do you like them in the blue and white?
I like them in the white.
In the all whites?
Yeah.
Your guys' all whites are sweet too, by the way. I like your stripes. Your striping on your uniforms is sweet. All right, last one is, all right, sheets. And you can give me as much detail as you'd like or as little detail as you like. Everybody has it. What is your go-to order when you go to Sheets?
My go-to order is usually an Oreo milkshake with Reese's cup in it, and then I put some whipped cream on top, and then usually I can just get the chicken shredders.
Any sides?
Nice.
Any
No.
sides? No sides.
Besides,
Put all the sides in the milkshake. I love it. Love it. Several guys have already mentioned the chocolate milk. They're like, you have to get the chocolate milk. I don't care what I'm eating. I'm getting the chocolate milk.
right?
Every time you're going, it's a milkshake.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, that's it. Thank you. Thanks, Dakota. I appreciate you jumping on our hot seat.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Dakota, for your time. Good luck the rest this week and the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Stay healthy. Good luck against Palmyra. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
All right, thanks to Dakota Sari for joining us here today. Andy, we got a couple of last topics here, kind of looking ahead a little bit. We're on the back half of the season. We've got 5 weeks of regular season play to go. Are there any key storylines to watch here, over the next 5 weeks?
Yeah, I got a couple of them. I'm going to start with the Liberty division. Reach your hand to the bag among the 3 teams. I'm saying Lime Mountain, Upper Dauphin, and Juniata, the 3-2-0 teams. It doesn't matter which one you reach down and grab, because you have you have as good a shot as any at one of those 3 coming out on top. It kind of feels like it might be a shared thing, like 2 of the 3 teams are going to end up with the same record, but I swear to gosh, I can't figure out which one of them. That's a storyline to follow. Does it change over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Another one I have is, Trinity lost to West Perry. They've lost 2, they lost 2 games in a row. They won last week. But do they have a say in how this division shakes out, right? Steel High still has to play the Mustangs and the T-Rocks. And the Rollers ask a lot of questions of a team on a weekly basis. And they can be the hottest flamethrower in the conference. I mean, last week's game against Big Spring was an example. They were losing 7-6 in the middle of the second quarter at Big Spring. They were losing.
Yeah.
And they scored 3 touchdowns in 4.5 minutes. Right? That's a flamethrower, right? They can.
Yeah.
It was completely unannounced out of nowhere. It looked like they had nothing going on. And then all of a sudden they scored 3. You look up and they've scored, it's 25-7. It was 7-6 they're losing. 4.5 minutes later, they're winning 25-7. So I think, and lastly, I'll say that I think I learned a lot about East Pennsboro last week and this team in 2023 more than anything else. Greencastle Antrim pushed them into the Blue Devils box. And the Panthers played there. Like, Greencastle Antrim played the exact kind of game they would want to play. And East Pennsboro was never able to sort of get that that 4th or 5th gear going. So they just settled in and played right along with undefeated Greencastle as well. They were both undefeated going into that game. And they played right there and won a game playing a style that the opponent sort of pushed them into. That's impressive, right? They're clearly now the Colonial Division team to beat. So those are my sort of 3 things to keep an eye on to see how it shakes out. But, can East Pennsboro continue to be a little bit of a chameleon? Because they're going to need to be.
Yeah. I think 2 thoughts that I want to throw in on top of that is just like the Messiah Mickens factor at Trinity is such a big part of this. I think they've got at least one more win if he's been healthy the last 3 weeks. Obviously his health matters most. He's got hopefully a really strong college career going forward. So he just needs to stay healthy. What happens in the middle of his sophomore year is, in the grand scheme of things, not the biggest deal. But it just leaves that question, man, what could this have been like at this stage of the season? Maybe he gets healthy enough in the back half, and that Steel High game again becomes really, really intriguing. We'll have to see. And my thoughts on East Penn here real quick is just, at the beginning of the season, we said, sure, they'll be in the mix in the top half of the division. And every week they've just kind of gone one step more to where we're just sitting here going, yeah, this is the team. They're the class of this division until someone else says otherwise, which right now, I don't think there's going to be anyone that says otherwise. But I actually have something to touch on that in a minute after this question here, and that is, we had some really, really good games last week. I know some of your thoughts on this week's games. I will say it's on paper not as juicy. We don't have some big sledgehammer type games here, but is there a game to watch in week 6 for you?
I mean, to be honest, I not really. I think there's a lot of double-digit differences out there. You know, if you're handicapping them, there's clearly not a 5-star game on the slate this week.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I was looking for a 4-star, and you know, maybe it's a 3-star game at best, but on paper, it just doesn't look like a week of strong matchups. So I'm going to say no. I can't find one. I couldn't find one. I hope you
Yeah.
did. You find one?
I if I had to pick, and I'm in a similar boat. I was staring at the schedule for this week and going, man, like there's not a whole lot of really like intriguing toss-up games. But if I had to pick one that maybe we'll learn something from, is maybe the avenue I was going down is Mechanicsburg East Penn. Mechanicsburg just got shellacked by Gettysburg, which had just been, beaten pretty bad by East Penn the week before. But Mechanicsburg's shown an ability to play pretty well at different times this season. Can they make this a game? I will not put them as the favorite by any stretch. I think East Penn is still going to win this game comfortably. I'd say 10 to 14 points feels like a safe, if we gambled on high school sports here, I think that would be a safe number there. But, I want to see Kim Mechanicsburg recover from what was a really like punishing loss against a team in their division that is the class of the division right now. And if not, we're going to learn a lot about Mechanicsburg. But if they make this a game, it's 3 to 5 points here in the fourth quarter or something like that, and East Penn's really got to fight for it. That'll be interesting, and then we'll learn something more from East Penn too. Can they, can they win as the team being hunted? Because now that's whatever Shippensburg is going to go at them at some point, and they got to face Northern at some point, which they're not as good as they've been in the last few years, but they're not going to let East Penn skate on this. So I want to see how these two teams kind of match up here. But final thoughts. Throw this back to you, Andy, for as we wrap things up. Final thoughts for whether it's week 6 or anything beyond that.
Do not start looking at the District 3 power rankings yet. Trust me, don't wait till after week 7 to take your first peek.
But Andy, it's such an easy thing to put up for clickbait.
It still isn't relevant. It really is not. You need 3/4 of the season. You need a minimum of 7 weeks. Any chatter about the power rankings right now is simply fool's gold. Do not look. Trust me. Wait 2 weeks, and then we'll talk about it with you.
Well, we will talk about it maybe next week.
Nope.
Ignore your instructions. We will talk about something next week. Thank you for joining us. That's been it for the Fourth Down Magazine team of Andy Shea, Adam Kolakowski behind the board for us. I'm Jake Adams. Be sure to head over to fourthdownmagazine.com this week for all of our coverage on week 6 action. Stay there for recaps from week 6 and previews for week 7 throughout the rest of the season. For that crew, like I said, I'm Jake Adams. See you next week. Enjoy the football games.